Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards and today's session is focusing around switch and play. But before we get into this week's video, make sure to leave us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's video, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into the first part of this week's session, we're going to be looking at a pattern of play, which is obviously going to be focusing around switch and play. But before we get into it, let's have a look at how many players we're working with this week and the equipment that we'll be using. So we're going to have 12 players this week, so no goalkeepers involved. Obviously, if you do have goalkeepers, we can look to adapt the session, okay, to bring in goals later on. But for the start, it's good to get the goalkeepers involved with the footwork and the passing, because obviously they need to do it as well, especially in the modern game. So you're going to split your group into 2 groups of 6 to start with. If you have more players, it's fine. You can just add more players into the areas. So what we're looking to do is the central player is going to stay in here for a certain amount of time. So you want it to be your holding midfielder, your central midfielder, players who are comfortable on the ball, who you're looking to get into these situations. So we're looking to play in, to play out, to play wide. Okay, so we're looking to play quite quickly. So the players, obviously after a certain amount of time, you can change the direction of play as well. So moving to the right and moving to the left. So the player in here, in terms of the setup actually first, we're going to have 15 yards, okay, from the start into the middle, and then a further 15 yards, okay, to do the end points, and then it's going to be the same with the width, okay, so 30 by 30 basically. And then in terms of the equipment, balls, bibs, cones, and then poles if you have them, which we speak about quite a lot, the importance of doing it. So the players, it's quite realistic using them as defenders to emphasise that movement. So the player in here is going to move out, okay, so take the touch across. This is then the trigger for this player to move out into space. This player is going to play in a short, okay, and spin out across the other side of the pole. This player plays into the player before returning centrally into the pole. Okay, so he's going to realise where the next pass is going to. It's out here. So where am I going to position myself, okay, to then move out into space. This player, okay, then plays into the wide player, who again takes their touch back across the body, okay. Midfielder moves out, set in, okay, set in front, spins out. This player again recognises that this player is going to receive the ball, then it's played in first time. So we want those passes into here first time. So it's a touch out the feet, 1, 2, play, or 1 touch, as much as we can. Obviously the players have to adapt if they can't do it. So the players are in the wider areas, they just follow their pass each time. So then it's out again, this player moves out, played in, played back across, movement onto the ball. So we want it played in front of the player, so they move onto the ball to get that momentum, to get some speed on the pass, and then this player's got to find that movement to receive it, okay, take it across the body, okay, this player's following their movements, this player comes out into space, receives it, gives themselves the angle, okay, to play across for this player to receive it, and then we'll play back into the start point. So after a certain amount of time, you can change the player in the middle if you want to, change the direction of play as well, and you can even try and adapt maybe which side that the player is playing. So it could be that they play into the middle, play it back, and then we look to play somewhere else as well. Obviously, if you have more players, you can put more players into wide areas. So it could be that we play in, we play back, we switch it, and then we go into other wide players as well. So just adapting to the amount of numbers that you have. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to part 2 of this week's session. Now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're now moving into a possession-based game focusing on switch and play. Okay, so we're going to have 5 zones in this part of the session. So we're going to have a 10-yard zone here, okay, and a 10-yard zone here. So this is going to be where players are going to receive the ball and then look to play into the middle. We're then going to have 20 yards in the middle and then a further 20 yards split into 2 boxes of 10 in here. So it's 60 yards total, but you can adapt it if you want to, make it a little bit smaller, but you want to give the players a bit of space, obviously, to manoeuvre the ball in these zones, and also, space to defend. Don't want to be in too tight, because then it becomes a bit too easy for the defenders, and also for the attackers, there's not much room to manoeuvre. So the teams will swap over if there is a transition. So you have 2 blues in either end zone here and 2 blues in the middle. So the coach will play into the blues here, who are looking to manoeuvre the ball between themselves. They're unopposed when they've got the ball in this area. If they step into this box where the yellows are, they're allowed to be tackled, okay? But again, they can look to entice players in to create space. The teammate can come on the overlap there, and then they can look to play into the middle. So obviously trying to create that space to play into the middle area where it's a 2v2. So then these players were focusing on their movement to receive the ball, okay? And then the players in the opposite box, they're then live. So then these 2 players are trying to screen passes away from these players. So as soon as they receive it, they're looking to go forward, okay? So then switch the play, and then the same again. As soon as these players receive it, obviously these players will move back into there. Then we're looking, can we get on the ball? So can we move it quickly? Can we play in those rotation movements? Okay, nice and quick passes to switch the play again. If the yellows win the ball, so they can win it from these players here, instantly, they don't have to move into that box straight away. They're looking to play into the central area. These players will have swapped over, okay, as quick as they can. And then eventually, once these players have played in, they will swap over with the blues coming into the other zones. It just changes. So both teams are looking to do the same thing. They'll look to win the ball, switch the play, retain possession, okay? You can even have players step into here to create space for somebody, play through, touches quickly, and playing out, okay? So it's having that confidence to take risks, so confidence to punch the ball into those central areas, okay, to play first time, having the decision-making to open out and play, decision-making to come in short for a player to come in long, okay, to move out. So it's always having that awareness as well. So scanning our surroundings, having a look at where our teammates are, having a look at where the space is. Can we receive the ball in these areas? Where are the defenders closing us down? So then can this player take a player into space, okay? It gets opened out and it's played through quickly. Then it's checking them shoulders again to where our teammates are. So it's taking the ball into one area, enticing the defenders in, and then can we play forward? Okay, so it's the ability to play first time as well, timings of our movements to create space, okay, and setting that intensity high. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to part 3 of this week's session. Okay, now moving into the final part of this week's session. We're now moving into a small sideward game, okay, based on playing into high zones to switch play, okay? So what we're going to be looking at is, for our setup, we're going to have 40 yards of depth, and then you can start with 30 yards of width, okay? If it becomes too tight for the players, okay, you can increase it to 40 yards, but obviously we want it to be quite tight so that the players have got to move the ball quickly, and it encourages them, okay, to take up the space in these zones, okay? So what we're looking at is, for the zones here, they're only going to be 5 yards maximum, so a 5x5 zone. So the coach plays into either team. So let's say we play into the blues. They're looking to play into one of the zones. So you can have players occupying both zones. It doesn't really matter. Or just one zone. So we're looking to play in, okay? So then work the ball to this side of the pitch, trying to manoeuvre it across, okay? So when we're speaking before about, in the first part of the session, about playing in and setting and then going forward. So stretching the pitch high and wide, but also giving ourselves options in the middle of the pitch. So once this player's played out from this zone here, can they provide support? Okay, so it could be they come in and make their way higher up the pitch. So they're looking to play through the opposition. Obviously, with the yellows, they're looking to press the ball. Okay, so are they going to leave spaces in behind for us to attack? So we're just looking to play into here, and there's our goal. Okay, so we're scoring in these areas here. You can even use it as an end zone instead. So you could have 2 end zones, which can be 5 yards off the side, and it can be a full width. So then the players are just looking to move the ball into that end zone or drive into it and then attack the opposite side. So in terms of the players, we're looking for them to take the risks in possession. Okay, so once they've got the ball in here, players can be going into wide areas, having that confidence to play into somebody, give them the information to play out first time. We switch the play out wide, and then where can our options be? Can players stretch the pitch? Players come in to open out. Again, can we play first time? Getting those players moving into areas, so it's recognising the space, so being aware of what's around us, scanning our surroundings, having the ability to open out and play first time, take a touch and switch the play, so not everything has to be on the floor, okay, so it's having that ability, so when a player does move out, okay, can we punch the ball into space, take it into this area here where they're going to be unopposed, but again for the yellows, if they go and press us, okay, where the ball is, they're going to leave space in around the pitch. So then if we look to bounce the ball in, okay? It could be bounced out, and then we've got a player waiting for the ball on the opposite side of the pitch for that switch of play and then playing through. So they must play into the zones to score and then go and play to the opposite side. So we're constantly looking to switch that play, but we're looking for intricate movement, sharp passing, okay? Having that ability, like I was saying, to play both short and long into spaces, and then players having the ability to receive it in areas which are congested, okay? Because sometimes we have to take the risk into terms of if there isn't any option, keep the ball moving, because the longer we keep hold of it, the more we're enticing the opposition in to press the ball and the less space becomes available to receive it. If the yellows then win it back, they're looking to do the same, stress the pitch, can they receive it, open out, okay, and then retain possession to then look and go and attack the opposite side. So again, playing into space, okay, where's our options going to be? So we're looking for options middle, okay, central, sorry, and wide, and then once the ball gets played into somebody, not standing there watching, okay, being enthusiastic, showing, having that willingness and that desire to then get on the ball again. Can we attack the opposite side, keep the ball, entice the opposition in? Can it be a set, spin out into space, and then we play through? If we're trying to break down an opposition who is sitting behind the ball, we've got to move that ball quickly. If we're trying to break down the opposition who are pressing high, so they're leaving space, move that ball quickly to the weak side and then penetrate forward, which we can do here. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's video. Don't forget to head over to our website where you can sign up to access all of our exclusive content. And we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.